Hi guys, this is Greg Doyle for Eat, Sleep, Boxing, Repeat. Prediction time, fight I want to talk to you guys about takes place this Saturday. It is the FOX USA main event and it is for the IBF Super Middleweight Championship. The champion, who is Caleb Plant, he's 20-0 and he takes on the former IBF Super Middleweight champion, who is Caleb Truax, who is 31-4-2. Guys, it's great to be back. Really missed boxing this past month or so that we've not had basically anything really at all, especially for me being in the UK and things with the lockdown regulations. So it's great to be back and speaking to you again. So guys, let's get straight into it. I'm going to start off with the champion, Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant, as I say, is 20-0. He's a very, very slick southpaw. Seems to be getting better. The higher up in class and opposition that he goes. Fight that I was really impressed with him in was against Vincent Feigenbutz. That is his most recent victory. Stopped Feigenbutz in the 10th round. Some beautiful shots to the body. A pinging right jab. He's just very slick. Moves his head very, very well for a super middleweight as well. He's just a really good all-rounder. He punches hard. Maybe not as hard as some of the other champions round about those weights, but he punches hard enough to get your respect, and he's just a really good all-round slickster. Couple of good fights he's coming off. Probably the one that stands out to me as being the most impressive is the win over Jose Uzcategui, who has fought really good opposition. It was a bit of a tough night for Caleb Plant, but he came through it. There was no doubt that he came through it, and as I say, the more that he steps up in opposition, he seems to be getting better. I think he's one of these guys that he needs the good fighters to bring the best out of him. Anything that's not quite at that calibre, I think you might see him. He seems to be one of these fighters that he might get bored at times and switch off a little bit in fights, but when he's got the challenge, I think he'll show the goods. But as I say, he takes on the former IBF Super Middleweight champion, that is Caleb Truax. Caleb Truax, 31-4-2, very solid fighter over his career. He had the two very close fights with James DeGale. The first time he beat James DeGale to win the IBF Super Middleweight title, which was probably the upset of that year in world boxing. He had the rematch with James DeGale. He lost it in a very tight majority decision. But he is coming off his last two fights. He fought Peter Quillen, and there was a bad head clash in round 2. And that went down as a no contest. I think it might have been a good thing for Truax, unless he came on strong in the second half of the fight, because Quillen, although he was probably by his best, looked as though he had the measure of Truax and was outboxing him quite well. But in his last fight, excuse my pronunciation of this guy, he had the majority decision win over Bazajimavili, I think it's pronounced. Good fight, watched a bit of that today as well. He's just a good all-rounder. Caleb Truax, he's very compact, holds his hands nice and tight to his face. He senses when fighters get tired. He knows how to push the pace, knows how to make things uncomfortable for fighters of all levels. So he's one of these guys that he's always going to show up and fight. Caleb Truax, he's always going to be there for as long as you let him be there. So yeah, he's more than earned his shot again on Saturday night. He's former world champion. He's not done an awful lot wrong since the loss to James DeGale, so credit where it's due, and I'm sure he'll be giving it all he can on Saturday night. But if I could very quickly move on to keys to victory for this fight. For me, keys to victory for Caleb Plant, it has to use that slick southpaw jab. Just bam, bam, pump it out, keep pumping it out. Make Caleb Truax walk forward, keep hitting him with a jab. Once you think that you've maybe got Caleb Truax slowed down a little bit, maybe come down to the body. He seems to throw a very, very good right hook to the body. And the way that he throws it, obviously we know he's southpaw. So he throws his jab, and then all of a sudden you come down and come round, and it's like a really slick, there's not huge amounts of power that goes into it, but it's enough that if it hits you on the sweet spot, it's going to be a tough night for you to get through it. So for me, keys to victory for Caleb Plant, he has to use slick southpaw jab, use his head movement and change the angles. For Caleb Truax, I think that you need to put Caleb Plant under immense pressure, keep him working. If he's going to throw punches, keep your hands nice and close to your face. Don't try not to take too many, but if he's going to jab, yeah, just pop your hands forward a wee bit, keep yourself in nice and tight, make him throw a lot of punches, and then hope maybe in the second half of the fight that you can come on maybe blow himself out a little bit, and that's when you start throwing that right hand over the top that he seems to trouble a lot of fighters with, Caleb Truax. So for me, pressure, get the fight into the second half and throw a nice right overhand. I think that could work well for him. Guys, over and on to prediction time. Not going to bat about the bush with this one too much. I've watched both guys. I really can't see by a routine victory for Caleb Plant. He's just too slick. I think that Caleb Truax is at that point in his career that his best days are behind him. With all due respect to Caleb Truax, I think he's always been fringe world level. He done really well to win the title, but Caleb Plant, he's 28. He should be coming into his prime. If he wants these big fights against your Canelos, your Callum Smiths, if he stays at 168, he needs to be coming through guys like this in style. I'll be honest, I see only one winner in the fight, and that's Caleb Plant. How he wins, that's tricky for me, because I think that if Caleb Truax shows up motivated, he could carry the fight quite late down the stretch, maybe put him under some problems. But if I had to give you guys a prediction, for me, it is for Caleb Plant to win in the second half of the fight or on a very wide points decision. Guys, fantastic to be back speaking to you. Greg Doyle, Eat, Sleep, Box and Repeat. Subscribe to us down below. Check out all of our social platforms, and I'll be back to speak to you guys again soon. Thank you.